Hello, everybody. Uh, this is Bean Tiger, coming at you from the exciting place that is my house. I hope everybody's doing amazing today on this wonderful Saturday. It's kind of gloomy here, actually. I'm more towards like I'm sort of like mid-state, so it's kind of gloomy here today. But hello, everybody. My panel, which I do in at almost every convention I go to, at least the sort of smaller to mid-range ones, is all about obscure animals, and it's a great panel during quarantine because a lot of us can't go to the zoo right now or any other kind of animal-y place, but we can learn about nature here in our houses safely, uh, or at least kind of look at pretty pictures, which is also a major factor in this panel. Some people just like the pretty pictures. So anyway, again, like I said, my name is Bean Tiger, um, and I will be looking at chat as much as I can. I have not taken my Adderall today, so I may forget, but I will look at it as much as possible. And just a brief about me. I work on and off in the zoo industry. One place that I used to work here in North Carolina is the Conservator Center, which I believe is now called the Animal Park at the Conservator Center. It's down um, towards a little down towards Burlington, which is a little past Greensboro, I want to say. I'm not good at geography. Um, and So you can see me here with tigers. That's a dingo in the middle, me with my red hair and my dingo. I actually trained to socialize with some small exotic canids. Um, Animals are my passion, and I just love talking about them, and I know you guys probably like hearing about it. So um, yeah, I did not hear about the recently discovered ringtail. That's actually really cool. It's always cool to me when a slightly bigger animal is discovered. We're always discovering things like little frogs and fish and stuff, but whenever anything bigger or mammal-like is discovered, I get pretty stoked about that. There's all sorts of wonder in this world, folks. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about a couple animals, and at the end of the panel, I'll have a couple of like little easy quiz questions about things that I said. Um, and if and my email as well will be on there. And if you get all the questions right, send it to my email. I will send you a little prize through the mail, completely free. It's like going to be a little sticker. You'll see when we get there. But okay, let's talk about animals. And by the way, this animal here is a greater kudu. Um, we won't be talking about kudu today, actually. I cut them from this this year's stream in particular. But if you guys remember, if any of you were at Blue Ridge last year, I talked at great length about my rivalry with greater kudu and how they're always taking things from me. Which is a long story, but they're thieves. So the first animal we're going to talk about is the binturong, which is one of my very favorites. And they are a Southeast Asian mammal that is patently adorable. They're so cute. They are technically classified as carnivores, but from my experience, the animal park at the Conservator Center used to have a lot of them. Now I believe they have like two or three. Um, they will eat just about anything. They especially like bananas, and we'll get to that in a second. I have a cute picture, but they're really neat because they're very what is it? very important to their ecosystem where they live in Southeast Asia. This is because they digest. They like to eat certain kinds of fruit, and the seeds inside those fruit can't germinate unless they pass through the digestive system of a binturong or a similar animal. And so essentially they poop rainforests, as we say at the Conservator Center, because yeah, they will digest the outer coating of that seed and then deposit it in a nice little bit of fertilizer. By the way, if you're wondering what they're related to, they're kind of their own thing. Um, they're a vivarid, which the closest thing is a genet or a civet. But most people, well, we as furries know what those are, but most people in the general public don't. And so they're like, well, that doesn't help me. But yeah, they're vivarids. They're related to genets or civets. Although they are called bearcats, they're not related to bears or cats. I've also heard them called tree otters. They're not otters either, but they are arboreal, which means they do like to live in trees, and they have plantigrade feet, like bears do, or like we humans do, which means that they walk on their entire foot rather than on their toes like a dog or a cat. Um, let's see here. Yeah, okay, yeah, this is my adorable, but binturongs will do anything for a banana. Um, One fun fact about binturongs at zoos is that a lot of binturongs love bananas so much that if you have like a mom binturong with her cubs and you need to pull the cubs for like vet care or whatever, and she's being very defensive over them, give her a banana and you could take the cubs. She'll suddenly not care. She'll be like, I don't care. I got my banana. I don't need the kids anymore. um, but yeah, I love binturongs. I have a binturong fursuit that I actually that was finished during quarantine, so it hasn't been premiered at any of the any furry con yet. But I'm hoping that I can premiere it. I mean, with any luck, early next year. I'm hoping that we can all get our little vaccines and do the right thing. Um, we're actually not going to listen to this video because it is very loud. It is like louder when everybody's like at home in their homes through the computer uh, than like it is in like a panel setting. Just take it from me. This would be a video of two binturongs screaming at each other. They sound like, you know, that sound like that's made when you like unzip something really quickly. That, but like 10 times worse and louder. It's like, it's like, yeah, it's bad. Kinkajous, also a really cool animal. South American rainforest animal, nocturnal. Um, they, as a matter of fact, they're so nocturnal that if there are any at the local zoo that you go to, they probably will not be out during the day. Where I used to work, we had two binturongs. Actually, they might still have those binturong, or I'm sorry, kinkajous. I got binturongs on the brain. Um, where I used to work, we had or have might still two kinkajous, and unless you came during like a night tour, there was no seeing them. They just they're night owls, and I can relate honestly. Yeah, and they always look kind of hungover. I'm actually not hungover right now. I'm just an insomniac. They so kinkajous are interesting in that they have a prehensile tail, which means that they can use it to um, grab onto things. Generally, they can't use it to hold something like in a cartoon, um, but they can hold on to tree branches as they walk. They can kind of grasp things. The only other mammal that has a prehensile tail that I'm aware of is actually the binturong. So, um, but they're not related to binturongs. They're actually related to raccoons. Um, Sort of, I don't think super closely, but enough that there's kind of a resemblance. You can kind of see it. They kind of look like cute little weird raccoons. And they have a really long tongue that they use to get nectar and such out of plants. Um, and they're called, while they're called honey bears, they don't actually eat honey. They eat fruit. They eat like I said, nectar, that kind of thing. Servals. Servals are good. We like servals. They're not sergals, they're servals. Um, Servals are African cats, although they're fairly I want to say uh what is it? They're elusive. Um, they're not something you're going to see on a safari, even though they're probably there. What's interesting about servals, I'm going to keep saying servals, um, is that well, there's a couple interesting things about them. One is that they have really long legs. I'd say body wise, they're about oh, I don't know, as long as like a medium sized dog, but like their legs are so long that they will stand probably almost up to almost up to your hip, probably like mid thigh on me, and I'm about 5'8", so they're very very tall. Um, in a lot of local languages, they're called giraffe cats because they're so tall, and because also they're little spots. Um, and with those long legs, they can leap into the air 10 feet from a standstill, which I think is a cool exercise in physics. Somebody should teach kids physics using servals. They're great hunters, by the way. Most wildcats, every time they go out hunting, will probably only catch something like 10 to 25% of the time. With servals, they will catch something about 50% of the time. They are like A+ hunters. Um, One thing you might know about servals is that, oh, and this is a cool picture. They they are probably one of the most common exotic pets owned by people, and I'm not going to get into the ethics of owning an exotic pet. That's, you guys decide that for yourself. But a lot of people see these cool cats and they're like, "Oh my god, it's like a little cheetah. I can keep it in my house." Um, but they don't realize that servals pee a lot. That's like their number one hobby. That's like all they do is they just pee. They pee so much, you guys. And they can't really be trained like a dog or even a well-behaved cat can. And so a lot of people, they might have the space and the time and the energy, but unfortunately they can't have a cat peeing in their house all the time. Um, at my old place of work, um, probably, I don't know if this is still true. I haven't visited in quite a while. Um, but the animal that we had the most of for for a very long time was servals, because um, one, because like I said, a lot of people would with good intentions want to own one and then find out that it was very difficult to do so, but also because exotic animal laws in terms of ownership differ between various um, even various counties, various states, even various towns. So if you have a serval legally in one town and you want to move to another town, you may unfortunately have to give up the serval to a rescue, etc. Um, I wonder why people breed them with domestic cats. Um, yeah, so um, they are the progenitors of the Savannah cat breed. People will breed domestic cats to servals, and then I think I want to say like 3 or 4 generations from that is the kind of Savannah cat breed that you could buy. I think generation 1 and 2 you have to have a special permit for. I think they still count as exotics. Um, I think the funniest, I have a lot of funny serval stories. I could honestly do a whole panel on funny like peeing like serval stories. I have so many pee stories about servals, you guys. Um, but I'll share just 2 serval stories with you guys. Um, from where I used to work. The first one, and these were servals again from my old work, the Animal Park and the Conservator Center. They had a serval who she was owned by a rich couple up by Lake Michigan, and she was well taken care of. They were like they took care of her well. They had done their research, etc. Unfortunately, um, because it's so cold up in Michigan, obviously, if any of you have ever been up there, they had to bring her inside during the winter. Um, and she would pee everywhere because that's what servals do. If there's anything you should take away from this panel, it's that servals pee everywhere. And they're like, okay, um, well, we're rich. We'll just keep cleaning up after her. And they were fine doing that for like a year. But she was getting mad that they were cleaning up. Essentially, she was marking her territory because that's why servals pee as much as they do. She was marking her territory, and she was getting mad that they were cleaning up the marks that she was making. So she actually found the HVAC system that ran through the whole house, and she peed into the HVAC system so that it misted all over the house. Um, and that's one of my favorite stories ever to tell. Smart cat, and that's when they were like, we should probably find a new home for her. So they sent her to the zoo that I worked at. But what the couple also did was they paid for the enclosure. Um, they sent monthly payments for her every month, so they did right by her. We always tried not to judge people that truly wanted to do the best for their animals, and they recognized that they couldn't take care of her anymore, and they sent payments and they supported her whole life. She actually, I think a couple months ago, like just passed away at the age of like 22, 23. So she had a nice long life at the zoo in a big old enclosure with a fountain, and she had a good time. um, my other serval story is um, very basic. Same kind of situation. It was a richer sort of person who took very good care of her serval and had done the research and everything. Unfortunately, the serval um, wanted to eat the cushions and stuffing out of the couch, and did so repeatedly over and over for many years until the owner finally went, I think she needs to be someplace where she does not have a couch or a cushion to eat. Because that's another thing, is that they can't be trained like dogs, or like I said, like some cats can. They're wild. But yeah, those are my 2 favorite serval stories. But I have a bunch, and I think as a joke one year I might just apply for a panel here that's just like, Bean tells serval stories for an hour. We all just sit around in a circle and I talk about serval pee. um, Good times. Let me. This we don't need. This video for our next demo we don't need sound for. It's just a video to look at, to observe. This is a Honduran white bat. Look at him. Look at him. He's so cute. I'm sorry. Every time I do this panel, I remember how cute these little bats are, and I die, and I come back to life again. Honduran white bat, so cute. Um, they're precious little babes. They they are actual cotton balls. They're another sort of Central and South American critter, and they eat fruit. They're not like vampire bats or anything like that. They just eat fruit, and they one of the cool things about them, they're also called tent bats because they will roost underneath big leaves and fold them to make little tents for themselves. Like if I stumbled across this, like if I was just like walking around in the wilderness and I found just like a bunch of little cute bats just piled up under a leaf, I think I would probably die. I would just die. Like it's so it's so cute. They're so adorable. Um, One interesting thing about them is, as you can see, their ears and snouts are kind of they're like an orange yellow color. The same chemical that makes uh carrots and all those kinds of vegetables orange is present in their snouts and ears, making them orange. Um, and actually, you can see it kind of better in this in the previous picture here, um, which I thought was neat. So they're like part carrot. That's not a scientific fact. Don't talk about that. They are not, thankfully they're not endangered, but they are close to being threatened because of mass deforestation. Unfortunately, that's sort of the reality for a lot of rainforest animals all around the world at the moment. So now we're on to some burbs. We're gonna look at some burbs. Um, this burb is called the cock of the rock. Yes, really, that's what it's called. Um, yeah, another South American rainforest animal. I've picked a lot of rainforest animals. That's interesting. That wasn't intentional, but rainforest animals are cool. They are passerine birds, which means they're related to little songbirds. And much like a lot of sort of really colorful and interesting looking birds, it's the males that are really pretty. Like as you see here, this is a boy with his beautiful mohawk here, and his beak is like right in here somewhere. Um, they're fruit eating birds. Um, they're the national bird of Peru, I believe. Um, and they only come together to mate. And what's interesting is that with these guys, the females will choose which males they want to mate with, essentially by um, flying down. They'll like spot the male, and they'll be like, "Whoa, that male's pretty cute," and they'll fly down, and they will peck him essentially until he mates with her. Um, they especially the females apparently especially like to peck on right on the butt. Um, Very pushy, apparently. But yeah, they are like they're little orange slices. I I never I a lot of my expertise is in uh large carnivores, especially like big cats. So I tend not to know a lot about birds, so finding out about birds like this guy is like it makes my day. Um because look at this. This exists in our world. You know what I mean? Like if you ever wake up one day and you're just like, I don't like today's gonna be a bad day. I don't feel today. Kind of down today. Just remember that this little weirdo like exists in on the same planet as you. Yeah, I would consider a nightjar an obscure bird. I haven't actually. That's a great one to include the next time I do this panel because I do this panel a couple times a year. And I try to update it a little bit um every time. But yeah, actually, I might include nightjars next time. They are very fascinating. Big old big mouth burbs. Um, Now this one is one you guys can hear, but I'm trying to remember for the life of me how to um make the sound work on these panels, or on a what is it, on a slideshow. So it may just have to like. Oh, you heard the last video. Oh, okay, perfect. A plus. Awesome. Yeah. Look, they look weird from the front too. I love them. They look kind of like chickens. Cutie pie. Yeah, they're weird. They're weird. I appreciate how weird they look. um, we got another weird bird here. A hoatzin. Yeah, another Amazon rainforest bird. I swear this wasn't intentional. Um, Hoatzins are cool because they are let me try to think of how to phrase this. They're the last surviving member of a family of birds that has essentially been around since the dinosaur times. So they're very close. I mean, all birds are genetically close to dinosaurs, but these guys in particular are pretty close, and you can kind of see it because they're crazy looking. Um, they're very docile in that they don't run away from predators. They don't run away from anybody really. Um, and they're herbivores, so they're not particularly dangerous. However, they they apparently smell really bad, like really really bad. So they're not edible. Like the natives don't consider them edible, so they're like not even an easy food source. And that's probably why they're so tame, um, or docile, I should say, because a lot of the time, what happens with animals that don't have any natural predators, that don't get eaten, is that they don't learn to be afraid. Um, so they just kind of sit around and hang out, and you know, um, they're not very good at flying, because of the way their body structure is built. If they eat too much, they literally can't fly, which I guess kind of is relatable in a sense. um, and yeah, I mean, look at that color scheme. Look at the red eyes, the blue face mask. It's beautiful, and the mohawk. I would love, and I think I mentioned this the last time I did this. The last time I did this panel was at Further Confusion, the virtual Further Confusion earlier this year. And I mentioned that I really wanted a realistic fursuit maker, to make like a hyper realistic hoatzin head and just like walk around in it like being weird during a con. Like that's all I want out of life, is just like a weird, stinky hoatzin fursuiter. Um, but I also have very, very strange dreams. Um, and gosh, what was I gonna say? Um, oh yeah, and baby hoatzins actually have claws on their wings, which is another thing that makes people go, "Oh my gosh, dinosaurs!" And they can actually climb stuff. Um, and let me do this video here. They can climb stuff, and um, they're very very good swimmers as well. But yeah, I remember there's been a couple times I've done this panel and I've shown this this particular video, and somebody inevitably goes ew in the background, like, because it's so, I guess it's so weird to people to see like a climbing like bird that it um, like in some people just like I don't just I don't like this climbing bird. Birds are not supposed to climb, so yeah. But I don't think it's ew. I think it's cute. I want a little baby hoatzin to climb all over my walls and stuff. Um, I think people say ew because they're just instinctually sometimes like just seeing like a bird, like a little bird climbing is like just weird to people for some reason. It's just not like a normal thing you see. I don't know, but somebody always goes ew in the audience. One nice thing about doing this virtual panel is I don't have to turn around and go, "Excuse me, don't be offensive." um, but and yeah, and yeah, some people don't like crawling things. As for whether it's the same kind of thing as what bats have, um, I don't believe so, actually. I think with bats, bat wings are actually modified, long modified fingers. Um, if you were to like look, there's probably a diagram out there that would show you like how like bat wings are basically like weird arms with really long fingers. Um, I think with these guys, it's just like a claw at the end of an arm. I don't think it's a finger, but I don't recall precisely at the moment. But I don't think it's quite the same as what a bat has. But bats are really fascinating in that way. I should point that out whenever I talk about the white bat. Here's another little birdie, a kakapo. These are completely native to New Zealand, and they are flightless parrots. They are extremely docile, much like the hoatzin, because they had no real natural predators for a very very long time. Issue with that, people came to settle the islands that they're native to, and brought their dogs and foxes and cats and other things. Um, this unfortunately means that the kakapo had no idea how to fight back, or even that I was supposed to fight back, and they got eaten a lot. Um, they they are extremely endangered, actually, close to extinction. I believe there's only about 2 to 300 left in the wild, if I recall correctly. And they um, are heavily protected now, to the point where they are all banded and all have names. As a matter of fact, if you go on Wikipedia, there's actually a Wikipedia page called List of Kakapo that has the name of like almost every single one. They are heavily monitored, um, heavily tracked. Yeah, 205. That sounds right. Right. They got little whiskers. They're precious. They're so cute. Um, and they're these guys are fun to talk about because these are honestly an animal you will never see. You will probably never see unless you travel down that way, because they are so heavily protected. I believe there's like one on loan to like one zoo in New Zealand and another on loan to like the Australian zoo, and like that's it. Um, uh, and they're they are sweet little herbivores. I mean, can you imagine that little face eating like meat? I don't think so. That's a salad eater. That's not a steak eater. Um, as I said, they're flightless. They're the only flightless parrot. Um, their numbers are increasing a little bit. One issue is, and this is kind of an issue with any sort of animal that's endangered or heavily threatened, is that um, They their genetic diversity is low because there's only about 200 of them left, so a lot of their eggs are unfortunately infertile or never hatch. But with any luck, we'll have these guys around for quite a while longer. Now we're on to the blue sea slug, something completely different. These guys are actually related to clams and such. They're and snails. They're a shellless mollusk. They float upside down, so what we're looking at is an upside down one. They're about an inch long. Um, they eat venomous and poisonous sea animals. They eat man-o'-wars, those big, huge, like dangerous jellyfish. Um, so their stingers, which are like all these little appendages at the end here. All these guys are also uh, venomous, and a blue sea slug could actually could kill you. But thing is, they don't generally wash up on shore too often. They're deep sea Pacific Ocean creatures. You probably won't ever see one outside of a captive setting. Um, so there's no real danger. But if you do see something like this on the beach, if you're ever out west, don't touch it, don't poke it. Um, they are hermaphroditic, which is really cool because that means like after two of them mate, um, both will come away pregnant. So both will lay eggs after mating, which I think is really neat. I'm weird, so I love like weird reproductive structures like that in some of the lesser known critters. Um, and here we go. You can watch this guy. Look at him go. Or her, them. It's a them. So like alien and neat. I really love it. I don't know what it's doing. Just vibing, I suppose. But, but yeah. And now for the lizard section of our program here. Um, lizards and amphibians. The thorny devil. Look at this guy. This is an Australian lizard. They live in the desert, as you can probably imagine. Um, despite their kind of gnarly looking appearance, they eat ants. They're not mean. They eat ants, and um, they're built for survival. These guys, they can absorb water just by touching it. Their scales are like absorbent, I suppose. Um, and they're beautiful. Look at them. This is another another animal I would love to see like a hyper realistic fursuit head of. They're so cool. Um, Apparently those spikes are actually not particularly spiky. You can pretty easily pick one up without hurting yourself. They're not poisonous or venomous. They're not even mean. Um, One interesting thing about them is this lump right up here on their neck acts as it helps them survive because what they will do if, for example, a bird is trying to eat them is they will curl their real head underneath their body and stick out this lump, and the bird will try to eat that lump, um, which protects their real head. So it's like a fake second head, um, which I assume that this grows back, and I assume that it's probably fairly painless for him. But yeah, thorny devils are another animal I want to see at like a convention. Not in well, I mean, it'd be cool if somebody just brought their thorny devil pet to like a convention, but like as a fursuit would be really cool too. Just imagining like a fursuit head with a bunch of little spikes on it. African clawed frog. Look at those guys. Um, this is an African amphibian. They were introduced to America, um, probably as pets. Probably, and they were just released into the wild. So they're an invasive species. Um, we like you can find these guys in like random ponds in like like in the middle of San Francisco and like places like that. Like people just release their pet clawed frogs. Um, their mouths, they have no tongue or teeth in their mouths. They just kind of shove things in there, which mood. Um, and they will eat literally anything. Again, mood, like alive, dead, doesn't matter, goes in there. They're cool because they were sent to space. Actually, NASA has sent them into space to see if they can reproduce up there. The answer is yes, they will totally reproduce up there. And their genetics are also often studied. They are, I believe, their entire genome has been sequenced, because they're fairly easy to study, and they just kind of sit there. Like, it's a frog. It's cool. One thing about them that I found interesting is that back in the day, um, they were used as pregnancy tests. Um, if a female African clawed frog came in contact with the urine of a pregnant lady, the female frog would start producing egg cells. So they were often used as pregnancy tests. But I'm sure for those of you who have read a lot about various animal pregnancy tests over the years, so I'm kind of not surprised. This one actually worked, though. This wasn't the weird, like, rabbit pee thing that we used to do as a species. I will quickly finish up here with two last animals that are native to North Carolina. And then I'll show you guys the little quiz. And if any of you guys are in the Discord, I will post the questions also and my email on the Discord as well, so that you guys can refer back to it. Oh yeah, and here's another. Look at this guy. God, they're so flat too. I love them. So these last two animals are North Carolina natives. What I like to do at every convention is pick a few animals too that are interesting that you could find in that state or nearby. Um, these guys are also called stink pot turtles because they stink. I mean, that's all there is to it. But what they do is they're also called a musk turtle because they release a musky odor from their bodies that it's thought it deters predators. They like to eat fish, snails, clams. They're carnivorous. You have probably seen one of these guys. You might not have known it, but they're very common. But I also like to pick. I like to, for the local animals, I like to pick things that are common that you might not have seen, just because maybe you don't get to go outside and kind of just sit in nature a lot, or you just don't know where to look. But if you look in any body of water, you'll probably find one or two of these. They're not that big, as you can see here. This is about as big as they get, maybe a little bit bigger. They're commonly kept as pets, although why you would when they're stinky, I don't know. They spend most of their life at the bottom of very shallow water, and they only leave that shallow water to lay eggs, and then they go back into their water. And their mortality rate is kind of high because a lot of animals try to eat them, and a lot of animals eat their eggs. So a musk turtle mom's got to lay a lot of eggs in order to get 4 babies out of it. Apparently, one thing that it likes to do, and this is anecdotal among a lot of people who study these guys, but it's a thing that they do. is that they like to climb up trees. They like to climb like the low branches on the trees and then just fling themselves into people's boats for no reason. It's like a thing that they do. Um, like they just do that, I guess. They're cute. If I found one of these guys in my boat, I'd be like, "Aw." And our last little animal that you can find here in North Carolina is the loggerhead shrike. Shrikes are cool. Shrikes are probably one of my favorite birds. Um, they're called butcher birds because the way they deal with their prey, because they're carnivorous, is they will pick up their prey and they will impale it on the nearest branch, spike, top of a fence post, etc. Last year when I did this panel, I had a picture of that with a trigger warning, but because we're on Twitch and I don't want Blue Ridge to get banned, I didn't include a picture of that. Trigger warning, but if you do want to see that, you can probably very easily find a picture of a shrike impaling its prey on a spike, any nearby spike. They're monogamous, which means they mate for life, which is pretty cute for murder birds. What's interesting is that they're related to songbirds, so they're related to like the little brown stupid birds that you see in your yard or whatever. They just evolved to have really strong neck muscles that they use to stab things with. Um, they're about 9 inches long, give or take. And the impaling behavior is not. It doesn't seem to be taught from the parent bird to the child bird. It seems to be instinctive. Scientists and experts, when they removed baby birds from their parents, found out that the baby birds still knew how to stab and impale things even without their parents' guidance, which I find really, really fascinating. And so that will wrap it up for now, ladies and gents. So here's our quiz, and I'll bring up the questions in a second. There's 5 questions, and I have my email listed on the slide as well. Feel free to take screenshots. I will also, like I said, post a screenshot in the Discord so you guys can refer back to that as well. If you email all the right answers to me, I will get your info and I will send you your choice of a little vinyl sticker of whatever animal you want, really. I'll go look for one for you in whatever color. I have a lot of different colors and patterns. So, yeah, I always like to give away little prizes, just as a way of being like, thanks for hanging out with me for an hour while I talk about critters. So, here is your little quiz. Like I said, I will go ahead and leave this up until they tell me to leave. And then also I will post a screenshot in the Discord. There are also runner-up prizes if you don't get everything right, but only the people who get everything right can get the cool stickers. Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, so we'll leave it up for about a minute here. And I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys, it can be really tough sometimes to have to stay in your house and not be able to go anywhere, but the way I've been coping is just by learning about animals, watching documentaries, watching funny videos of baby hyenas playing, that kind of thing. Nature's one of those things that can really help you get through. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me for this little epic. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys again. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your convention.